What's going on, guys? My name is Austin Zabak, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 3 ways that you can make money fast. Unemployment is at an all-time high right now, and over 30 million people have filed for unemployment over the last 8 weeks. And depending on when you're watching this, the crisis that we're in right now may or may not be relevant, but one thing is for sure, the video that you're about to watch is going to be relevant. But even when things are normal, 49% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The economy is always going up and it is going down, and you cannot always plan for what will happen. And ultimately, your financial situation could change with the economy. People lose their jobs, maybe you lose a client and your overall profit takes a hit, or maybe your car breaks down, or you get in a lawsuit, or you have medical bills that come out of nowhere. The moral of the story is you never really know what is going to happen with your financial situation. I mean, you can literally think that you're 100% prepared, and at the end of the day, something could come up and something could happen that you're not prepared for. Something unexpected actually happens. So in my opinion, it is always good to have a few tried and true ways of actually making money fast. So if you stay to the end of the video and you smash that like button, then you're gonna learn 3 ways that you can make money really fast, really simple, and really easy. The first way to make money fast is to sell junk that you already own. According to a study from a research firm called NPD, the average American family has about $7,000 worth of stuff that could be sold online. Now, I don't know about you, but that's quite a bit of money for something that you already own, that's already just sitting there, that maybe you don't use and maybe you forgot you even had it to begin with. And that is what we're gonna talk about in this video. And you might have to get a little bit creative on actually finding the stuff laying around your house, especially if it is in your attic or in your garage or in that storage room that you haven't used in literally years and years, but I promise you, it will be worth it once you figure out how to do it. According to the LA Times, there are about 300,000 items in the average American home. And NPR says the size of the average American home has nearly tripled over the last 50 years. Yet the New York Times says that the average American rents an off-site storage unit, meaning one of those storage units you see when you're driving down the road. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why, if their house wasn't big enough already. But at the end of the day, that is what statistics show us. So many people rent storage units that it has actually become one of the largest growing segments of the commercial real estate industry over the last 4 decades. Okay, so if you have a storage unit or an attic full of junk or a garage full of junk, that is where you're gonna wanna start your search on your hunt for that golden jackpot, okay? The jackpot of stuff that you can ultimately sell online to make money fast. And you will likely be shocked at the amount of junk that you will find that will be worth something to somebody else and worth nothing to you. Kind of like that saying I think I've heard, one man's junk is another man's treasure. I know I can't be the only one that has gone and bought something that I didn't need and then forgot to return it, or all of a sudden it became too late to return it, and I just didn't end up doing anything with it. And there are also people who bulk buy stuff when it is on sale, saying that they will use it later and they'll put it towards a good use, and those people may or may not be named Karen that want to talk to your manager. Now I'm just kidding around, but when you go look through your junk and you look at the stuff that you actually have that you don't use, you're gonna be very surprised at what you find. And the way that I know that is because before I made this video, I went and actually did exactly what I'm talking about. And well, I made a pretty good amount of money selling stuff that honestly I forgot I even had. A survey by ClosetMaid on clutter in the home found that over half of the respondents surveyed said they had somewhat of a clutter issue plaguing their home. Now, if you come from a family that collects antiques or whatever the case is, then you might even have a bigger score than you thought you would. Look, at the end of the day, a lot of the items that you literally think are trash are items that somebody else would pay a decent amount of money for. So I just encourage you to have an open mind, as when I kind of thought of the idea on how I could really make money fast, kind of like you might be thinking right now, I didn't really have much of an open mind, but I just encourage you to actually do what I'm talking about. Stay till the end of the video, smash the like button, and ultimately you'll be very surprised at what you find. Like china sets and vintage lunch boxes, Boy Scout memorabilia, Pokemon cards, retro video games, and David Bowie's Diamond Dogs vinyl, which has apparently sold for $3,550. Now, in terms of selling everything that you previously found in your home, because I know you paused the video, you went and looked, you found a bunch of junk that you're never going to use, well, stay tuned to the end of the video because I have several options for you on where you can actually sell the junk that you've now collected. For local transactions, you can use things like OfferUp, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or really any of the other platforms similar to the ones that we're kind of talking about. And overall, it is very, very simple. You can also take your junk to a pawn shop or a consignment store, and a lot of those places will actually give you your money right away. The only downside is sometimes they won't pay as much money because they want to turn around and they want to actually make money on the product. And in order to broaden your reach of potential customers, you could even use sites like Poshmark or eBay or Amazon, or you could even make an Instagram account and leverage the shopping tool to sell your old junk. And the added bonus to doing all of this is you actually start your journey of decluttering your apartment or your house, and ultimately it raises your energy level because you're not looking at a bunch of junk all the time, and potentially you even start on the journey to becoming a minimalist. The second way to make money fast is to become a driver for different apps. But let's dive in really quick to the different types of apps that you can become a driver for and why they vary and why maybe one would work and one wouldn't work. So the first would obviously be to drive people around in a platform like Lyft or a platform like Uber, and I'm sure if you're watching the video, you've probably taken a Lyft or an Uber at one point in your life when you were too hammered to drive your car home. And this is truly a way to make a decent amount of money from the comfort of your own car without having to do any manual labor or learning any new skill or having to really go out of your way on any level, just doing something that doesn't take a lot of mental energy. And another really great thing about it is you get to pick and choose when you want to work, how many hours you want to work, and ultimately when you want to go home and sit on the recliner and just pop a beer open. However, there are a couple of restrictions due to the fact that you're driving other human beings around. So they typically want you to drive a newer car and a little bit nicer of condition, and there are some different restrictions that apply when you're actually driving, again, other human beings. So maybe you have an older car, or maybe you don't want to drive other people around, or you're really just an introvert, and the last thing that you're going to do is have a conversation with another random person in your car that has been drinking on a night on the town, and you really just don't want to end up in that situation. Then my next two alternatives will be really good for you, so I encourage you to stay tuned. So the alternative is to drive food to the people, so you're not actually driving any people around at all. And a couple of different apps that you can potentially apply to be a driver for are Postmates and UberEats and things of that nature. There's even other ones like DoorDash and Seamless, and I think there's a couple of others if you go to your local grocery store. And really, there's probably even a lot that I haven't even done my research on, just because of the amount of people that are lazy, that don't want to go get their food anymore, and they want their food to come to them. I'm not gonna lie, I've been one of those people every now and then. So the restrictions are not as tight when you're driving the food rather than the people, again, just due to the fact that you're not driving people, right? So you don't necessarily need a fancy car, and you don't necessarily need expensive insurance or whatever it is, because you're just driving the food. So that would be why I would go ahead and choose something like that, because it makes a lot more sense if you have an older car or there's other restrictions that for whatever reason you're not allowed to drive for Lyft or Uber. And again, this is a way better option if you tend to be more socially awkward and you really don't want to have a conversation with a bunch of random people on a daily basis. Another app that is really great, and I've actually used this one quite a bit, is an app called TaskRabbit. Now, TaskRabbit does not actually force you to drive anything around 9 times out of 10. You're not driving food, you're not driving people, you're just leveraging your car and you're leveraging your time to complete different tasks. I've used TaskRabbit before for delivering a document to a client in which I wasn't in that city or state. Maybe I was traveling, or maybe my client was traveling, but I needed to get a document to the client, and an email or a fax was not sufficient. As you know, if you followed me or you've subscribed to me for a decent amount of time, another thing that I do is actually real estate. And in real estate, there are always different things that need to be done in random times and in random areas, and TaskRabbit is truly a great app to be able to do that. And just for the record, I am not sponsored by anybody in today's video, so I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. I'm making this video because I believe that with all of the craziness going on in the world, having a couple of different options to make money fast is never a bad idea. I mean, I literally found an app that will pay you to stand in line, okay? Have you ever seen people that go and they stand in front of the Apple store, they stand in front of the Nike store, or the whatever store, to wait for a new product or to wait for a new whatever, and ultimately people literally camp out and do the crazy, I mean, it's like mind-boggling to me. I don't know why people do that, but apparently there are apps out there where you can actually pay another person to go stand in the line for you, and then you can just show up when it is about your turn. So between driving people around, driving food around, completing random tasks, or standing in line, there are definitely more than a couple of different applications that you can download and start to make money fast, basically make money immediately. And the third way to make money fast is to flip real estate contracts. Now, don't let the word real estate scare you. You do not need $20,000 or $50,000 to flip the real estate contract, okay? What I'm gonna share with you is a very practical solution to making money fast, and you don't need any experience in real estate or anything of the sort. The concept of flipping a real estate contract goes something like this. You find a seller that needs to sell their property, and for whatever reason, they're in a distressed situation. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe for whatever reason, the house is not fixed up. It is all beat up, like an old tenant lived there. Or maybe they even inherited the property from a family member they haven't talked to in 10 or 20 or 30 years, and they just want to get rid of the property. So you offer to buy the property at a discounted price, and then you ultimately take that contract and you sell it to a cash buyer for a slightly higher price. Now, I've personally done a lot of this in my life, and I really believe that it is a phenomenal way to make money very quickly, and you do not need a ton of experience. And for whatever reason, when I mention this to people or when I make other videos on it, people tend to get scared away, and for the life of me, I just can't understand why they overcomplicate it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you find a property that would be worth $250,000 once it was all fixed up, nice and ready to sell to a first-time home buyer. But again, it is not nice right now, it needs a ton of work, and the seller is motivated to sell. So what I would do is I would offer them $150,000 for the sake of this example. Now, 250 minus 150 leaves about $100,000 worth of wiggle room for the end investor, except for the fact that you are not the end investor. You just sound like you are, but really you're just the middleman that is gonna find the end investor that I'll explain in a minute, and it is very, very simple. But maybe the property only needs $30,000 to $50,000 worth of work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go find an actual cash buyer or an end investor, somebody that is gonna renovate the property or buy the property as a buy and hold to make passive income, and I'm gonna sell that property to them for $5,000 more than what I got it for, which was $150,000. But again, I never bought the property, right? I leveraged what they call equitable interest in real estate, and I marketed that property before I actually had to purchase it. And in a nutshell, there's really no risk involved. So just to do a little bit of marketing to find a seller in a distressed situation and do a little bit of marketing to find a buyer that is looking to buy, I made $5,000 in that scenario. And you're probably thinking like, Austin, yeah, but where do I find the sellers and where do I find the buyers? And although there are a million different places that you can do this, and I've definitely made other videos on my channel if you have an interest in this, one of my favorite ways is actually PropStream. And I'll link a link down below that will get you a 7-day free trial so you can try it out and you can look into it. But with PropStream, you can actually search for distressed situations like pre-foreclosure and probate and different types of distressed situations that you would find in real estate. These are people that maybe couldn't afford to make their mortgage payment, so the property is going to auction, which is why they call it a pre-foreclosure. Now, there are other different various types of distressed situations that you can actually search for in a platform or a software like PropStream. I would encourage you just to hop in there and check it out for yourself. It is very simple, and you can watch a couple of other YouTube videos, including some of the ones that I've made on how to actually do this and how to succeed. But I'm telling you, you can make money pretty darn quick if you really just study how to do it for maybe a day or two. You can also use PropStream to find a cash buyer, okay? You can actually search for cash buyers in that area, or you can use a platform like Facebook and you can look at different Facebook groups where real estate investors talk about looking to buy properties. In a nutshell, it is a very simple way to make money. You're serving a valuable purpose because the seller and the buyer wouldn't have known each other unless you were involved in that transaction, and that is worth a little bit of money. Now, you do not have to be a real estate agent to do this, as you are essentially just acting as the buyer, but ultimately selling your right to that contract before you actually purchase the property. So there you have it. Those are my top 3 ways to make money fast in 2020. I really hope that you enjoyed the video. And if you did, I would appreciate if you drop in the comment section, let me know what you would like to see in a future video, and I'd be happy to make it for you. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.